My husband's family called me a gold digger. Then my lawyer walked in with the truth. Reddit stories. My husband's family spent years calling me a gold digger. So at our engagement party, his mother tried to embarrass me in front of everyone. But then my lawyer walked in with one folder and suddenly the entire room went silent. My name is Natalie Brooks, and for most of my marriage, my husband's family believed one thing about me, that I was a gold digger. My husband Ethan came from a wealthy family. His parents owned several real estate companies in California, and money had never been a problem for them. I, on the other hand, came from a completely different background. My parents were teachers. We weren't poor, but we definitely weren't rich. So when Ethan and I got engaged after 3 years of dating, his family immediately assumed the worst, especially his mother Linda. From the very first dinner we had together, she looked at me like I was some kind of criminal. "Oh, Natalie," she said with a fake smile, "it must be nice dating someone who can afford such expensive restaurants." I laughed politely. I can afford my own food, but she didn't believe me. And honestly, she never even tried. The constant accusations. Over the next year, things only got worse. At family gatherings, Linda would make little comments. "Ethan has always been generous," she'd say loudly. Or, "I just hope people love him for who he is, not for his money." Everyone knew those comments were aimed at me. Ethan would sometimes defend me, but not strongly enough. "Mom, stop," he'd say, but then he'd quickly change the subject. Eventually, I stopped arguing, because arguing only made them believe their story even more. The engagement party disaster. Things exploded during our engagement party. It was held at Ethan's parents' house, a huge mansion with a garden big enough to host over 100 guests. Friends and relatives were everywhere. Everything seemed fine at first until Linda decided to give a speech. She tapped her glass and smiled sweetly. "I'm so happy Ethan found someone," she began. People clapped, but then her voice changed slightly. "Although I do hope Natalie truly loves him, not the lifestyle our family provides." The entire garden went quiet. My face burned with embarrassment. Someone awkwardly laughed, but Linda wasn't finished. "In today's world, you have to be careful about gold diggers." People started whispering. I could feel every pair of eyes on me. Even Ethan looked shocked. But before he could say anything, a man in a grey suit walked into the garden and headed directly towards me. The lawyer arrived. He stopped beside me and said calmly, "Miss Brooks?" I nodded. "Yes." He handed me a folder. "I'm Michael Harper, your attorney. The documents you requested are ready." The crowd looked confused. Linda frowned. "Attorney?" I opened the folder and turned towards Ethan's family. "Well," I said calmly, "since we're talking about money tonight, I think we should clear something up." Linda crossed her arms. "What exactly are you implying?" I smiled slightly. "That I'm not the one marrying for money." Then I handed the folder to Ethan. Inside were legal documents, property deeds, bank statements, and one very important contract. Ethan looked up slowly. "Natalie, what is this?" I took a deep breath. 3 years ago, before we started dating, I sold my tech company. Gasps spread through the guests. For $8.2 million. Linda's face went completely pale. "The truth." The lawyer cleared his throat. "And Miss Brooks has requested a prenuptial agreement." Linda suddenly looked relieved. "Oh, thank goodness. At least she understands." Michael interrupted. "The agreement protects Miss Brooks's assets." Silence fell across the entire garden. Linda blinked. "What?" Michael continued calmly. "In the event of divorce, Ethan Carter would not have access to Miss Brooks's finances." Everyone stared at me. I looked directly at Linda. "So no, Linda, I'm not a gold digger. If anything, your son is the one signing the prenup." The aftermath. The party ended awkwardly. People left early. Linda avoided me completely. Later that night, Ethan sat next to me on the porch. "You never told me about the company," he said. "You never asked." He laughed quietly. "My family's going to lose their minds." I shrugged. "They already did." Then he took my hand and smiled. "For the record, I'd marry you even if you were broke." I smiled back. "Good, because now we know it's not about money." And for the first time, his family finally understood the truth. The moment the lawyer finished speaking, the entire garden went silent. You could literally hear the wind moving through the trees. My future mother-in-law, Linda, looked like someone had just pulled the ground out from under her feet. 8 million, she repeated slowly. My lawyer Michael Harper nodded calmly. Yes, Miss Brooks sold her technology startup 3 years ago. People started whispering. Some of Ethan's relatives suddenly looked at me very differently. The same people who had been judging me minutes ago were now staring like they had completely misread the situation. Linda forced a tight smile. Well, that's surprising, she said, but I could hear the embarrassment in her voice. For years, she had been telling everyone I was after his money, and now the truth had destroyed that narrative in seconds. The question Ethan asked. Later that night, after most of the guests had left, Ethan pulled me aside. We stood alone near the pool in his parents' backyard. You really sold a company for $8 million? He asked. I nodded. Yes, he laughed softly. And you never told me? I shrugged. You never asked. Ethan leaned against the railing. You know my mom is going to lose her mind. I know, I replied calmly, but that's not the real reason I brought the lawyer tonight. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? I opened the folder again and handed him another document, a prenuptial agreement, but not the kind his family expected. The real prenup. Ethan read the first page carefully. His eyebrows slowly rose. This protects your assets. Yes. And I have to sign it? Yes. He looked up at me. Do you not trust me? I smiled slightly. It's not about trust. Then what is it about? I glanced towards the house where his family was still talking nervously. It's about respect. For 3 years, your family called me a gold digger. Ethan sighed. I know. So if we're getting married, I wanted to be very clear that I'm not marrying for money. He stared at the papers again. And my family? They'll finally have to admit they were wrong. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then suddenly he started laughing. What? I just realized something, he said. What? I just realized my mom spent years trying to protect the family money from you, and now she's about to realize I'm the one signing a prenup. For the first time that night, I laughed too. Linda's reaction. The next morning, Linda called Ethan in a panic. I could hear her voice through the phone from across the room. She manipulated you, Linda said loudly. Ethan rolled his eyes. Mom, she's richer than me. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Linda didn't answer, because the truth was simple. She had judged me for years, and now she had to accept she was completely wrong. The unexpected twist. A week later, Ethan surprised me. He showed up at my apartment with the signed prenuptial agreement. He signed it, he said. I looked at him carefully. You read everything? Every page. And? He smiled. I realized something. What? I realized you were never after my money. I raised an eyebrow. And? He laughed. If anything, I should be worried about people thinking I'm the gold digger. For the first time since meeting his family, I felt like someone was finally on my side. Ending. And the funniest part, 6 months later at our wedding reception, Linda stood up to give another speech. But this time she cleared her throat and said something very different. I owe Natalie an apology. The room went quiet. I judged her before I knew the truth. Then she smiled awkwardly. And apparently, my son married up. For once, everyone laughed. Even me. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more real story.